This section will look at emotional labour. And very often in the hospice sector, people have to do a lot of emotional labour. So you'll look at what this is and what you can do about it. I want to talk now about emotional labour. Because this is one of the important things in spotting potential resilience or burnout, and what's going on for people. And I think it's particularly pertinent in your sector. So emotional labour, for those of you who don't know, is about the fact that a lot of work is having to show an emotion you don't really feel. So it is not appropriate to have fits of giggles when you're saying something that's difficult, even if you feel it. And so you have to hide the emotion that you really do feel. That's the second part of it. So there's three parts to it. Right, so you have to show an emotion you don't feel, you have to hide an emotion that you do feel, and you have to create something that's appropriate for that situation. So you have to be able to read what that situation requires of you. So it's three important things. And everybody who is on the front line in any hospice has to be really good at doing this. Really good. Right, so what does it involve? I took the quote from this book again, because I thought it was quite a good thing. Order to be kind, we're likely to be cruel. If you have to do something, in the end you go, oh, I just can't do this anymore. And wanting to be kind, we are likely to discover our generosity. So if it's an internally driven thing, we're much more likely to come to it rather than if it's an externally driven thing. So I want to think now about the different levels of emotional labour. I haven't got the blooming zapper. Okay, so first of all, and you know this, we're talking about hiring, a conversation that I heard at the very beginning. So when you hire people, you want to hire people who are more resilient, don't you? So what is it that you need to look for? And how many of you, I'm sure loads of you will have done DISC or Myers-Briggs or any of those other things. Do any of you use NEO? Okay, so NEO is one of the most robust personality profiles. And that is because it's based on the big five. So unlike any of the others, Myers-Briggs has got 2 of them in there, but it hasn't got all of them. Let me just explain to you what that is. So Costa and McRae were the researchers who did this work. And I think it was about in '85 that they first started doing it. But it's a build on previous work that's been done. But they came up with, they started developing NEO. It's called NEO PIR. And so personality's got these 5 big domains. The first one is openness. And openness, that's openness to new experience. So that's openness. Then conscientiousness is your ability to deliver. You know, do you really drive to deliver? Extroversion probably doesn't need any explaining. But it's about being out there in the world and interacting with other people, the opposite introversion. And then we've got agreeableness, which is how pleasant you are, and obviously that needs to be really high in your sector. I mean, agreeableness right on the front line matters. And then we've got the 5th domain, which is neuroticism, which personally I prefer to call anxiety, because it's not very helpful to go to somebody and say you have high neuroticism. But you can easily say to somebody, it seems to me that you're quite anxious. And these are all sociobiological needs. If you think, 100,000 years ago when we were out on the savannah, openness is important for us to learn new things. Conscientiousness, if you don't go gather the berries, you're not going to eat in the winter. Extroversion, you need to be part of the tribe, or otherwise you won't survive. Agreeableness, you need to be nice to people in the tribe. Well, ditto, you won't survive. And anxiety, you do need to be worried that winter is coming. For anyone who's a Game of Thrones fan, me. So these are things that are important for our very survival. So at work, if you hire people, okay, who are really, really conscientious and highly introverted, they are at most risk of burnout, okay, because they do a lot and they don't talk about it. So it's high conscientiousness, and high introversion and high neuroticism. Okay, because they worry about it. So they do a lot of rumination, right, which you won't see. So they're chewing over in their minds. And that is really difficult to tell. But the only way to do it is to find out what is going on. So to look for difference in behaviours. So personality matters. So when you're looking for people who are resilient, of course you want them to be conscientious, but you want them to be telling you. So you might, when you're hiring, say, tell me about a time when you found yourself right on the edge. How did you manage it? What did you do? And how did you go about it? Because you want them to be telling you that they found somebody that talked about it, and they explained what was going on for them. So that's personality. That's the first thing that it takes to deal with emotional labour. So what's the second thing? Genuine acting. So this is why that hire for values, and that you make sure that you've got a match there. There's a fit. So people, when they're doing genuine acting, it's not a difficult thing. If your values fit and you can behave in the way that, because you have that value fit, it's not an effort for you to do this. There is no emotional labour. So you've got the right personality, you've got the right fit. The job is not hugely demanding. But when it gets to deep acting here, you have to control your emotions and you have to make yourself believe that you are enjoying it. And so the further you get away from the core, the bigger the risk is for burnout. And when you've got to surface acting here, this is what we're all trained to do. So this is where training happens. Right? So you say, right, you have to speak softly, break the news in a certain kind of way, behave in a certain kind of way. And if that's on the surface for somebody and it's not their genuine self, that's when you get the highest risk of burnout. So, but for me, that's easier to spot, the surface acting. I think the difficult thing is this. That, there, when you're going, am I sure that this is a real banana? And I had a colleague literally just last week, and he's been worrying me for a bit of time, because I was thinking, I think what I'm getting here is surface acting. He's saying all the right things. I'm really worried about him because there's just something that doesn't feel right. And 2 Fridays ago, he came to me and he said, I can't manage. I thought he was going to cry. I thought he was going to cry all day because his hours are just too long and he's not managed his workload, and he says yes to everything and he says no to nothing, and he wants to be helpful. So he's driven by this need to help. But actually sometimes, I've said to him, what you need to learn to do is to say no. So what we're now going to go into your diary and what you're going to say no to. And for him that was almost impossible. but. So I wasn't surprised when it happened. And I'm now kicking myself saying, I should have just tested myself out to not allow that to happen. But that bit there.
How would you have done that though, Jess?
I just said to him, bless you.
Thank you.
Mike, I'm worried, and I'm worried because of this. I'm feeling, and tell me that I'm wrong, I'm feeling that you're saying all the right things, but there's something that could be better for you, could be different, that might improve things. Tell me, what is it? Am I making that up? But it's just how I'm feeling. Okay, so that's emotional labour.